Summer is here, and that means it's time for summer events at Serenbe. Throughout June and July, join us every weekend for live music Fridays on the farmhouse porch, the Saturday farmers market and farm tours, a bevy of weekend wine tastings, goat yoga, and you can tour our furnished model homes. We also have lots of special events, which include multiple film screenings hosted by the Art Farm, a floral arranging class at Serenbe Farms, and of course, the annual Chat Hills 4th of July parade. Head to the events calendar in our show notes to learn more. We'd love to see you this summer in Serenbe. This week on Serenbe Stories, Steve and I are turning the mics over to two of our amazing team members, Stephanie Coyne and Amy Peterson. Stephanie is Serenbe's HR director, and Amy is our director of community operations. I've worked alongside these ladies for a few years, so I can attest that Serenbe would not be what it is today without their hard work behind the scenes. So we thought we'd lift the curtain and give our listeners a sneak peek at how Serenbe operates and what it looks like to live and work here. From learning on the job, new resident onboarding, and the supportive ecosystem that makes it all possible. So with that, I'm turning it over to Amy and Stephanie. Enjoy. I love that we have at Serenbe like professionals, people who legit know what they're doing, who want to go along with your vision, and also an ecosystem of we want each other to be happy.
That's right.
And I think that's like resident-wise, employee-wise, all of us. It's like a ecosystem that kind of just keeps flowing in and out with each other, each department, each concept.
Right. We all help each other out.
Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Stephanie.
Happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday to you as well.
So we've been asked to be on the Serenbe Stories podcast to talk about our roles at Serenbe. You are the director of community operations, and I am the HR director. And I'd like to take this moment and this platform to just set the scene. Because I think when you hear director of community operations and HR manager, you think, wah, wah.
True.
And we're not that.
We're not.
We
We're fun.
are fun.
We're fun people.
And we're funny. And we have a good time at work.
That's right. We do.
Yes.
We do.
So we're not Toby from The Office.
That's right.
And I can't think of a famous HOA.
I kind of think of Leslie Knope.
Leslie Knope.
Is Knope?
Oh, I'd love to be Leslie Knope.
Yeah.
She's real fun.
Yes.
Yeah, but you've never, ever walked around with a 3-ring binder in this place.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Maybe a clipboard.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know, Amy, that you've been here 8?
Actually, it'll be 9 years in
9 years in
October.
October.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's tell the listeners how you came to be at the B.
Oh, it is quite a fun story. I actually live in what I like to call Serenbe. It's very close to Serenbe. It takes me 10 minutes to get here. I do not pass a gas station to get to work. It's wonderful. And I used to work in Douglasville, which is very close. And I literally drove by Serenbe every single day for about 6 months. And then out of the blue, Kara, who is one of Steve Nygren's daughters, was running the HR department back in 2014. She reached out to me on Indeed and invited me to come and interview to be the dining room manager at the Farmhouse restaurant. And having not necessarily had fine dining experience, I do have experience doing fast casual, such as Starbucks. I worked there for 10 years. I also worked for Best Buy. And then after that, I came here to Serenbe. So lots of different jobs I've had. I was the dining room manager for the farmhouse. I became the general manager of the inn after a couple years of doing that work. And I did that for a couple years. And now I've been doing HOA and running that for the last, now going to be 5 years.
Yeah,
there we are.
Shout out to Kara Nygren Adler here, who actually hired both of us.
Indeed.
And who also taught me everything I know about how to find people on Indeed. And you are one of the first people she used as an example, which is search for people who have worked at Starbucks.
That's funny.
I use a lot of other parameters now, but that was one of the big ones.
Yeah. It's good training at that company for sure. So,
and Kara also hired me in a little bit of a different way in that she didn't search me, but I basically forced her to give me a job by just emailing her nonstop until she gave me a job here.
That's even better.
Yeah, my husband was in the Air Force for 20 years. And when he retired and took a job at Delta, much like many people who live in the Atlanta area, we moved here and I had been volunteering. I was a stay-at-home mom, doing all of those things. And we went to go to our house closing. And it was a very strange face-to-face closing, which I don't know if that's a Georgia common thing, but it was unusual to us. And luckily it was very amicable. And the woman, I just found this morning and I brought it in. I know it's a podcast, but the woman selling the house to us gave me this list of all the paint colors, garage code, everything. And while we were waiting for paperwork, she was like, oh, and if you ever need to go on a day trip, here it is right here. You could go to Uncle Bob's Pumpkin Patch or this place called Serenbe, which was so unusual to me. I didn't even spell it right on the piece of paper.
That's awesome.
So
awesome.
My sister-in-law was coming to visit, and my options at this point were Uncle Bob's Pumpkin Patch or Serenbe. And I said, well, let's go check out this Serenbe. So we came here, walked on the trails, got a little bit lost, had lunch at the hill. And I was like, well, that's it. I'm coming out of stay-at-home mom retirement, and I'm working at Serenbe. And I really had no idea doing what. I have a background in event planning and that kind of thing, but I was like just started emailing Kara saying, I would like to work at Serenbe. What can I do at Serenbe? And I finally wore her down and she gave me an interview. I'm joking. It was quick. And they hired me to work very part-time in the accounting department, like literally 2 mornings a week for 3 hours a day. And that was about all my stay-at-home mom retirement could handle. And 2 weeks into the job, my coworker quit, also named Amy. And she had been doing payroll. So they said, hey, how would you like to work here full time and do payroll? And I said, I don't know how to do any of those things, but sure, if you teach me, I will do it. So in a very Serenbe way, sometimes I refer to it as Serenbe University. It's a lot of on-the-job training, roll with it. If you have a desire to learn, you will do it and they will believe in you. And by they, I just mean everybody who's here. I don't necessarily even mean just the Nigrans. I just mean everybody sort of circles the wagons, right? So I ended up doing that for about a year. And Kara had stepped back by that point of doing anything HR. And people were just coming to me with questions in the accounting department that I felt like we really needed an HR department to handle. So I suggested maybe we're getting big. By that time, we had grown to about 200 employees and said, I think you need an HR department. And Garney said, I think you're right. Why don't you do it? And that's how I've had this job for then an additional 5.5 years. So I've been here 6.5 years total and doing HR for a little over 5.
Well, I appreciate you because I used to do all the recruiting for the inn, and that was always super fun and challenging to get folks to come out here. So it's a challenging role that you took on.
Yeah, that is a really good point. When I started here, all the managers at every concept and even departments within the concept, so housekeeping, the kitchen at the farmhouse, et cetera, they were all doing their own recruiting. And that was, as you know, you've done it. It's a third of your job.
Yes.
But you really need to spend way more than that.
It's necessary, for sure.
Yeah.
For
so
sure.
Now that's all happens in the HR department. I hope managers find that helpful.
Well, I certainly did when you came on board, Stephanie.
Yeah. Took that off your plate.
Indeed.
All right. So you want to dive right into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Tell us, Director of Community Operations, what happens when somebody says, I'd like to move to Serenbe. I've just bought a house and we just moved in. What happens?
So I actually get a list from a real estate office that lets me know who is coming, anticipated closings of those homes. And I do reach out to everybody to welcome them. I send them an email. I send them information about fun things like trash and recycling, compost, all those fun things. And I do reach out to them and offer them the opportunity to meet with me. Otherwise, we do set them up with the resources that they need. They get set up for our newsletters that come out every single week. We set them up with our app, which is super helpful. It's a Serenbe resident-only app. If you live here, you can only have access that way, which has really great information on there. It also links directly to our ticket system, which is kind of the final piece of everything. So they're set up with that as well when they first move in. Ideally, we meet. I take them through. I have a little PowerPoint that I've put together just to keep myself on track to talk through everything. And that's pretty much it. We meet up whenever possible and take them through all the things that they need to know to live here because it's a little bit different.
Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, often Serenbe is referred to as an agri-hood. And I think I mean this in the most positive way possible, but it's like any neighborhood you've ever seen or imagined in your lifetime times 1,000.
That's right.
Like a little bit on steroids and not in a negative way. There's just so much to offer.
Yes.
Here, and so different that our neighborhood has like a professional HOA manager. I mean, I live in, now that I know it's called Serenbe.
That's right.
And our HOA is, of course, run by volunteers. I actually have a funny story that people who live in Serenbe should be happy they live in Serenbe have somebody like you and a design review board, et cetera. We were doing some construction in my house, and what we wanted to put up, the HOA said, no, like, we don't understand it. We don't want to do that. So I said, why don't you come to my house and I will show you our vision and see if you like it. And the HOA president showed up to my house in a t-shirt with one of the dwarfs on it that was grumpy. And it said, don't talk to me. And I thought, wait a minute, my house design is in this person's hands? This can't be right. I love that we have at Serenbe like professionals, people who legit know what they're doing, who want to go along with your vision, and also an ecosystem of we want each other to be happy.
That's right.
And I think that's like resident-wise, employee-wise, all of us. It's like a ecosystem that kind of just keeps flowing in and out with each other, each department, each concept.
Right. We all help each other out for sure.
You just mentioned our ticket system. And so if anybody's listening who does not live here, and like my neighborhood in Serenbe does not have a ticket system, can you tell us more about what the ticket system is?
If you are on the app, there's a button that goes directly to, it's basically just a forum to be able to either express a complaint if you have a concern or if you have a question or if you have a request. And it just goes to one central location. And then we have folks that take those tickets and disseminate who they need to go to. And then basically we get a workflow based on that. In addition to just the regular everyday maintenance of the community that we need to do, we also do fit the tickets in there as well. So super fun.
And my experience with the tickets is that the person submitting a ticket, and let's just say it's about my trash did not get picked up
That's
this
correct.
day. There's an immediate response from someone who's fielding the ticket system saying, thank you, we've received.
Yes.
We're on top of it.
Yes.
And then the trash is picked up in that example. And then they receive another email saying, this has been resolved. And
Right.
are you happy with your experience and how it all went down?
We actually communicate through the ticket system. They get an email directly to themselves, or they can actually see it on the app. They're using that. And we'll just let them know where they're at and the status of having something completed. Once it's completed, they get a survey asking how satisfied they are with the service that they were provided. And generally, if it's a bad reaction to something, we're going to reopen it. We're going to try to figure out what we can do to fix it.
And I have a specific example in mind, but can you think of maybe what is the most interesting, craziest, strangest ticket that has been submitted?
Ooh, I'm not really sure.
The one I can think of right off the bat that you can maybe top
Okay.
is the resident who asked you to very quickly cut her new mail keys.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Because she was just in a fit about not having her mail keys. And then you created the new mail keys, you delivered them. And when she took them to the mailbox, she found her mailbox keys.
That's right.
In the mailbox.
Sticking out of the mailbox. And that's maybe happened not just that one time. We'll just say that. So a lot of folks will lose their mail keys. That's a very common thing. And that's not a big deal. One of the things that I have done and taken upon myself is to learn how to cut keys. So I actually have a key cutting machine at my desk and I can do it very quickly, very, very quickly, quick turnaround. Sometimes it's not, but we do the best we can to get it done. But yes, that is a fairly common thing for folks to leave their mail keys and think that they are lost.
That's one of the things I say about team members who are going to thrive at Serenbe, who are going to be here for a significant amount of time or do different kinds of jobs, is a jack of all trades or somebody with an entrepreneurial spirit like you have, that the number of times you probably went into Palmetto to have keys cut, and then you thought to yourself, why don't I buy a machine, watch a few YouTube channels,
That's right.
learn how to cut keys, and embrace this as just another part of my job.
That's right.
And now we literally have a key cutting machine.
We do.
In our office.
And I have trained others to use it as well. So if it's needed. So yes, we have multiple people who can cut keys within this community.
Yeah. And I think the app speaks to that as well. I don't know your role in the app making process, but having an app for residents to even reserve the tennis courts is so useful and so hands-free for everybody involved. Yes. You're not making court reservations. There's not frustration amongst residents
That's
about
right.
not having the time or space to play tennis or pickleball or any of those kinds of things.
Yes.
Very entrepreneurial.
Thank you. All right. I think maybe it's my turn, Stephanie, to ask you a few questions about
Come at me.
Serenbe. What kinds of jobs does Serenbe offer? What sorts of things are you hiring for currently?
Ooh, well, that's two different answers. But the answer to the first one, what kind of jobs do we have here at Serenbe, would be easier to answer by what kind of jobs do we not have here at Serenbe?
Fair enough.
Because that's very few. Because we're 24/7 hospitality, and we have residents, and we have retail concepts, and we have restaurants, et cetera. It's almost everything. Dishwashing, housekeeping, IT, development, director of community operations. It's really the whole gamut to keep a place running. We have 2 separate accounting teams. We currently have about 200 employees that I say, like, I'm responsible for the care and feeding of these 200 team members. There are certainly more people that work at Serenbe that do not fall under my umbrella, that work in independent retail establishments, et cetera. But we have about 200 that I like to say I'm in charge of, even though I manage none of them. A couple of our, I would say, like, points of pride in the HR department, currently HR department party of one, is we have to date 36 out of those 200 employees who have been here for more than 5 years, which in the hospitality business is huge.
Yes, it is.
It's just not that common to stick around somewhere so long. One of our housekeepers, shout out to Alex Yanez, has been here for 13 years. 13 years, and actually in the housekeeping department for 13 years. And I think that is statistically an anomaly.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Definitely.
Another thing we're really proud of is, much like your story and my story, is I feel like if you come to Serenbe as a team member and you are willing to learn and you show some will and some enthusiasm, we will find things for you to do. We will get you to the next step, the next level. If you join us and you're going to school at the same time, and then you still want to work here with that degree, we will pour into you as much as you pour into us. Our sous chef at the farmhouse right now, we hired him 2 years ago as a dishwasher. He's 18 years old, and now he's a salaried sous chef.
That's pretty awesome.
It's so great. And much of that is to the credit of everybody else who works here. Chef Nick Bohr took him under his wing, got him to that level. Everybody surrounds, right? And it's a build up and a lift you up, and not that, in a lot of kitchens, it's like a competitive spirit and it's a little cutthroat. And that's not any kitchen concept at Serenbe. That's just not our culture, and it's not how we are. It's like lift you up, you lift me up, and much more of a team culture.
What are some challenges in the HR department currently?
Well, much like the rest of the nation, it's a challenge to hire. And it's a challenge to hire in food and beverage right now. And I think, just my HR hat, saying that probably with the pandemic, a lot of people had to pause on what they were doing and then take stock. I think that's probably how we have our last 20% of residents in Serenbe, is people took stock of where they were living, what they were doing, their stress level, et cetera, and then came to Serenbe to counteract that and do something different. So I think that's probably our biggest challenge, is hiring. We're really lucky at Serenbe. I was just talking about the culture. of our concepts and of our team members, in that one of the challenges I do not have is employees acting badly with other employees, or people leaving in a fit of rage, or disgruntlement in general, because we just don't have that culture here. Of course it exists because human beings are human beings, but by and large, that's how we have 36 employees who have been here over 5 years.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty great.
Very awesome. So speaking of the pandemic and the challenges that presented, I think that probably one of the fun stories that we could share about how we have utilized employees and like been able to give them work when there was not work available was the restaurants closed down.
Right. When the pandemic happened, I think 2 amazing things came out of that. One, as I mentioned, we are 24-hour hospitality and we're out in the woods. So I like to say Serenbe never really shut down, but we did have to drastically minimize our team members right away while we were just kind of trying to figure out, is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be, what can we do? Where can we go? How can we shape it? And very quickly, 2 things happened. One, we figured out how we could bring team members back on staff, not necessarily to do the job that we had just laid them off from, but to find other avenues that they could be useful, where they were outside, maybe helping with the landscape crew, or
I want to say our trails probably never looked so great.
That's right. Which was great timing because that's like the only place people could be.
That's right.
At the time.
That's right.
Yeah. Another thing that happened because of that was I created a resource, is what maybe I'll call it, where I asked residents, do you have any odd jobs, things that you need done? I know these team members. I know what their availability is. I know what their skill level is. And they were hiring them to help organize their basements. Or there was one employee who was running to Trader Joe's in Atlanta and doing just the grocery run for like 10 residents at a time. So employing them, even if not in the traditional way. And then the other thing that happened during that was, of course, as I was talking about, like we all lift each other up and it's an ecosystem. The residents very quickly got together, led by Gil Mathis, and created a GoFundMe account for our team members who had been laid off and that we couldn't bring back in some way. And he and I worked together to facilitate the dissemination of those funds, who they would go to, which was everybody. The residents were very adamant that everybody get a piece of that pie. So I think our team members, even though we had to lay off some people during the pandemic, really still felt very supported by us. And I don't know the math on this, but I would guess that 75% we were able to bring back to their original position happily. And they felt like, oh, I never left.
That's a great story. Love that about this community. Everybody really does pitch in and help out.
Yeah. I would say about HR type things, or why working at Serenbe is maybe different than anywhere else, because why do we have so many team members that have stayed here over 5 years, which is very uncommon in hospitality, is I think we offer a lot of programs to the team members that we don't have at traditional restaurants out in the world outside of the B, in that we offer paid time off to our full-time employees, and we also offer subsidized insurance benefits, which is very uncommon in hospitality. And beyond those kind of standard things, we have a wellness program. You and I have participated in many a step challenge.
Many of those.
Which out here in the woods is very aggressive. The step challenge is so aggressive.
That's right.
We had to keep tennis shoes at work and find any way to get outside, take a call out in the woods,
That's
whatever we could do.
Get creative to get some steps in.
Yes, to get steps. And we've also had workshops on nutritional wellness, financial wellness. The Nigrans are very genuinely interested in the whole wellness of our team members. They truly want everyone to be happy who works here, and they truly want them to have a good work-life balance, and they truly are invested in them. We have also had 2 years of a financial wellness academy, where we have, by application, accepted 3 team members to work with a financial advisor for a year on their own personal goals and financial education. Even if they were to never work with us anymore, they would still have that education to move forward in their personal lives or their future professional lives. We also just launched this year something called the Serenbe Spirit program, which is a bit of a training program. We bring in team members for 2 hours. And for 1 hour, we talk about kind of standardized service. So if you are a guest or a resident and you go to Halsa and order a smoothie, your experience there is going to be the same great experience that you get when you go to the farmhouse and you're getting seated at your table, or you are a guest staying at the inn and your room has been serviced by housekeeping. So that first hour talks about standardized service. And then for the second hour, we send all of our team members out on a fun scavenger hunt on golf carts. And I created a scavenger hunt so they kind of are reaching all the different corners of Serenbe. Because if you work in one area of Serenbe, you may never experience our organic farm and what that's about there. Or if you work on one end, you may not make it to the other. So the scavenger hunt really covers almost all of Serenbe and just gives them a broader perspective to be able to then answer guest questions, interact with residents, and just feel more knowledgeable in general and a little more empowered to answer questions with confidence and hopefully a smile.
Very good.
Let's talk about how fun it is for you and I to work here.
Let's talk about that.
Because it is so fun.
It is.
Our office that we work in only has 20 employees in it. And by only, I mean that's only 10% of all of Serenbe employees. So we have very few, statistically, very few people working, say, at a computer, at a desk, et cetera. Most of our team members are boots on the ground or working in one of our dining concepts or the spa, et cetera. So I think you and I have been instrumental in creating what I think is a great office culture.
I agree with that.
Yes.
We do have fun.
Right. The number one goal is making fun of Gil Mathis whenever we can. Gil Mathis is our chief financial officer. And I think he likes to come into the office and work quietly. So we all do our best to talk as much as possible when he walks into the office.
That's right. That's right. It's very fun, very easy.
Yes. Gil and his team of friends also participate every other Thursday at trivia at one of our dining concepts, Halsa. And so we have also created a trivia team. And just like to say, we did win one time.
One whole time we won. That's right. That's right.
But that's pretty fun.
That's okay.
Yeah. And our office in general, we play pickleball on Wednesdays after work. We frequent the wine shop on Fridays after work.
It's the Friday wind down.
Right. The Friday wind down. Yes. And we've also participated in office bingo, which is real fun, where we all make up the squares that a person could get and then kind of monitor for what happens. We have one coworker who starts every single conversation, no matter what, with these words. Wait, what? And that became a bingo square.
Yes.
And she just had to do it one time.
And now she doesn't say it at all. I guess we do have a bit of a party planning committee between the two of us. We do really try to make our office event super fun.
Yeah. And I think that gets started usually from me saying, what do you think about this? And you always say yes. Or you'll say, you know what we should do? And I say, yes, I'll plan it. We will do it.
Halloweeny bar.
Yes.
And costumes. That's always fun.
And almost always involves a game of some kind, some sort of how well do you know your coworker.
That's right.
Type game. And we have dressed up in some fairly elaborate costumes.
Indeed.
Shout out to you for winning this year's costume contest as Cruella.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I fit that.
The whole 9 yards.
I fit that pretty well. We'll just say that.
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
And our office gift exchange has always been.
That's always fun. You just never know. You never know. Somebody's going to just go off and get the thing that's
book, as we may say.
Maybe not the most kosher thing to give at an office party.
Yeah. But it has provided for a lot of entertainment.
And we still laugh about it to this day.
Yes.
So
yes. And usually advise new coworkers about maybe what not to bring.
That's right.
To the office gift exchange.
It's always good to tell that one story.
Yes. You and I also are in a club, I'm going to call it, called the Order of the Notary.
Indeed.
Thinking about buying us some capes, possibly with our names on the
back.
back.
And can we have a badge as well? That would be great.
Maybe a badge. Yep. So we do provide notarization services to the residents.
And you and I were, I believe, the only notaries in the building until we decided to form the Order of the Notary.
That's right. OG notaries.
That's right. We were the OG. Yeah. And so we were very busy notarizing.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
So we brought others into the fold, and we now have a process. You can actually email us and somebody will help you. So it's great. In addition to that, we're also taking donations on the signatures, which we're going to then purchase a farm share and donate to the Brickworks, which is a local food pantry here in Chat Hills.
The food donation comes from Serenbe Farms.
That's right. Yep.
The organic produce that they would normally give for a CSA share.
That's right. They'll bring a share to the Brickworks on a weekly basis.
Right. Which goes to the greater Palmetto, Chattahoochee Hills community, not to residents, is what I'm pointing out. Yeah. And speaking of the farms, you also manage Serenbe Farms.
I do. And I want to say that I think that is one of the coolest, I don't want to call it an amenity necessarily, but it is definitely a part of living here that is the coolest thing, hands down, to have an certified organic farm right on property that you can either participate in the CSA program and go pick up a share of vegetables each week, or if you want to do something a little lighter, you can go to the farmer's market every Saturday as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to eat well, eat healthy, eat things that have literally just been picked that morning. So it's a very exciting thing about Serenbe. It's probably my favorite part of Serenbe.
And you and I and other coworkers have gone to the farm a few times and volunteered on the farm, literally planting lettuce, digging holes to put the lettuce in,
cleaning lettuce,
cleaning the lettuce.
That's right.
Doing all the things. It's very rewarding.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
It's very fun. Last time we went, we actually dressed up as farmers, which was even funner.
More fun because the actual real farmers there don't dress like that at all.
That's right.
And speaking of Serenbe Farms and our love for Serenbe Farms, we were also I'm going to call it featured in the 4th of July parade. I was lucky enough to dress as a farmer, and you dressed as?
I was corn. This year. We also had an eggplant. We had a carrot and a person that dressed up as peas. So
peas in a pod.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. I think we're going to bring back the vegetables next year.
I agree. I think maybe expand it a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Get more variety of vegetables.
More vegetables.
To participate.
In the 4th of July parade.
That's right.
Yes. So, Amy, as we're wrapping up here, and I know that they like to wrap up the episodes on Serenbe Stories in this way. If you had somebody visiting in Serenbe and you sent them to Serenbe, what is the one thing or experience you would suggest that they do?
I would say that they need to pick a trail and go on a walk.
That's what I was going to say.
And I love the Labyrinth area, and I think that is some place that everybody needs to visit. But then there's so many other great places out on the trails that you can see that are just, they're kind of opposite. They're on the beaten path. They're not, you have to be on the trails to find them, such as the tree house, which is really cool, which was built by residents of Serenbe back in the day when it was much smaller. There's the ruins, the 2 waterfalls that you can visit, Indian Rock and the grandfather tree. So I think there's so many different things that you can find on the trails. Just go out into the woods and get lost. That's what I would recommend.
That's a great answer. We have a coworker who constantly calls me Amy and calls you Stephanie.
That's right.
And this is probably why.
Exactly.
We dress similarly every day without even talking about it. And also that was the exact same answer I was going to say.
Oh my gosh, we're just great minds think alike, Stephanie.
That's right. You got to hop on the trails and walk and get lost. And if you happen upon the labyrinth, it will be one of the greater things you've ever done.
Indeed.
Is what I was going to say. But definitely just the walking, getting lost, and experiencing stuff is the way to fully immerse yourself in Serenbe without an agenda.
Right. Get out into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Because the trails are not an amenity. They're a necessity. So how do you get to know Stephanie or learn more about working in Serenbe?
How do you get to be a part of this fun?
That's right.
We do have a careers page on the Serenbe website, and all of our open positions are listed there, and that goes directly to my email. And I respond insanely quickly to those emails. And if anybody wanted to get to know you, Amy, they really need to.
They need to go to the real estate office and buy a house or sign a long-term lease, and then we will be in touch.
And then your shiny, happy face will be the first thing that they meet when you do their onboarding.
Indeed.